Someone asked me, what is bad faith? In a short way, let's say that in essence, bad faith implies the action of not being genuine, honest, or authentic, often with the aim of avoiding responsibility to gain an advantage or to maintain a certain image. Now, this might sound a little bit abstract, so to illustrate bad faith, let me tell you a story of one of my heroes, Turkish hero, Nasreddin Hoxha. In this story, Nasreddin, a wise man, is taking a nap. But while he's sleeping, some children are coming around making noise while playing in front of his house. So he's woken up. Now, he thinks how to get rid of these children. So he goes out and he tells them, you know, children, on the other side of the village, there is a wedding and there's a big party and they are handing out candies and cookies to everyone around. So the children are very happy to hear about this news and they run to the other side of the village. And Nasreddin can peacefully go back to bed. But he cannot go back to sleep because he keeps thinking about what he told the children. And then he started thinking, how about if this was true? So he gets up and as well, he runs away on the other side of the village. Now, of course, like often in those kind of stories, the situation is rather exaggerated and it looks absurd. But in a more subtle way, that's what happens a lot in our life. We invent stories either to get something, to make other people do things, or just to have a good image. We all know these stories we have told many times, time and time again. We have polished them, stories about our life, about our childhood, about things we've accomplished, which looks much better than it is in reality. It is really hard to avoid telling this kind of story. Now, the only problem is that we end up believing these kind of stories. We end up believing what we have invented because it's not only toward others that we want to have a good image, but as well it's for ourselves. It's something very important in the human mind, in the human existence, that we want to feel good about ourselves. Even things which are not so good we've done, we try to transform them into a more acceptable type of narration that look better. A typical example is when we have some failure, when we have done something wrong. And instead of facing the fact of our flaws, of our shortcomings, of our mistakes, we prefer to think that it's because of events, because of others, because of a given situation, what can be called circumstantial thinking. We attribute the fault, the responsibility for our mistakes to a given situation. Now, of course, we tell this to others, but we enter in a kind of self-delusion where after repeating this story a lot, we actually start believing it ourselves. And sometimes it's the reverse. We want to make something up in order to feel better about ourselves, and then we tell others this story. Yeah. So it's not necessarily something big, something huge, but we all do that. An example given by Sartre is about a waiter, garçon de café, as we say in French, who is putting on a whole show in the cafe, the way he handles himself, the way he moves, the way he serves people, to ensure that he is known, that he's recognized as a garçon de café, as someone competent that knows his work. Yeah? Now, the mistake being made, according to Sartre, is that this person starts believing he is actually a garçon de café. He starts believing that is the essence of his existence. And when he does that, he loses his fundamental freedom, where he forgets that there's something else to life than being this garçon de café, right? And one of the main consequences of this, of course, is that when he's not in the cafe anymore, then who is he? Who is he? And the idea that his life might be very meaningless. Another example is the example of the clown who makes people laugh. He's funny, he gets success, he gets approval from other people. But what happens when the lights are turned off, when the spectators are gone, and when this clown is alone in his and he undoes his makeup, he takes away his red nose, then who is he? So then we're faced with a sort of nothingness about our existence. And that's one of the main consequences of this bad faith, is a sort of depression, a sense of emptiness once we stop putting on a show. So we're split, because in this bad faith, it could be deliberate. Of course, some people put on a show fully conscious about the fact they're putting on a show, about the fact they're lying to people, that they're being hypocritical. But because we have to reconcile with ourselves, we try to believe. We need to believe our little story. And then that's where the problem really starts. It's not so much because we lied to others, but because we lied to ourselves. And we can pay very dearly the price of this bad faith, since when we have doubts about this identity we're making up, and this generally takes the form of depression. That it can be a light moment of depression where it's even healthy, that we realize we've been telling story, that we're inventing some artificial self. But sometimes it takes on a more pathological dimension, when actually a person realizes his life is very empty, that all he has been doing is constructing some image, some artificial type of acting, and it doesn't really function. And then he faces the emptiness, the nothingness of his existence. So in a way, to practice bad faith is not a huge problem in itself, except if we really start believing our stories, and if we would give too much importance to the stories that we build around ourselves, and then we lose our fundamental freedom by investing in a very fictitious and vain identity.